Hi. How's everybody doing? It's a surprise bonus YouTube live stream on a Tuesday night. Why a Tuesday night? Good question. Well, Thanksgiving is around the corner. A new library is out, and I want to talk about it a little bit more, share some more insight into this library. I have some fun things we can take a look at. Just seemed like a good thing to do. I've had a number of questions from people asking for things that I can put together. If you don't get to see this when it's live, you can see it in its replay. Hey, Chris, welcome. Late night live, yeah, for those of you on the East Coast. And if you're, oh, yeah. Good question. All right, so let me do this. I got to do my social little things here, just to let everybody know I'm live. Let's go open chat. Chat with me here. And paste. And we can close that now, and then go to YouTube. Or actually Facebooky, and oh great, I have good news there too. So some good stuff happening. So Tuesday night MegaMagic cello live stream. Hang on one second. I'm almost there. I'm almost there. So let's go like there, and then here. Now we can go to this page. So I have a whole bunch to show you guys because I want to talk about the process for this session. The recording process, the editing process that I did. There's the unique qualities to this library where I had, hey Dana, Jawad, welcome. Glad you guys are here. Good little crew showing up already. That's nice. But there's a lot that happened in the building of this library that I want to share just to get it out there as knowledge. I think knowledge is better to share than to hold to the chest. So this is the session file, not from the actual session. I'll play that in a second, but that's all the recordings that I got in this session with cello, and from that I was able to build this library. And I will show you a couple movies. Let's see, oh, we gotta resize this, it's too big. Let's see if I can resize to fit into the space that it says I have available. So go like this. This is Kevin Dietz. He is the cello player, the cello player, who did the wonderful performances. And this is shot from my camera of the session. So let me zoom in here. I can select this, and I think hit. Oh wait, let's zoom in. We had the wrong thing selected. So there, and
G2, down, up, wow.
So this is where it started, at a studio. You see this configuration. There's a microphone actually right down here pointing at the base of the cello. There's a stereo configuration with two different microphones. They're not even the same microphones, but this is I think it's called the Windham Hill configuration. It's what Drew, my engineer drew. And then there's a fourth microphone here. Great. C3. And my dog was here, and there's Drew. He's using Nuendo. He's got a number of different monitoring speakers to work with. Right?
C3, down, up, wild.
So that was the process of recording the actual source for this library. And I have some photos here. Here's some more from the sessions. I will just go through these really quick. Let me get my chat up so we can see what's going on. Hey, Michael. Hey, Stanley. Hi, Dana. It's good to see all the... Oh, so many nice people showed up. It's so nice. So these are some of the photos that I took during the session. This is with a fisheye, so it kind of gets cropped on the sides because it's wider than the actual allowance of my camera. But that shows you the configuration. Drew's studio is actually his house. And he has this really cool room built to the outside of his house. Then he has this room here, has blankets that we can put up on different types of diffusers to isolate the sound more. He has a big shark that's on the the ceiling. Yeah, you know, there's personality at the place. There's 4 dogs. There's Drew running new windows, and lots of monitors, all that stuff helping him with feedback, with what he's doing. And the sound he got was just really cool. Another view, there's a bit on the bottom right, you can see my keyboard. I had a keyboard with me that I was recording. He was sending me like a headphone output so I could do a stereo recording of everything that Kevin was playing. And actually during that session, I'll show you in a minute. So here's Drew and Kevin, the team together. They did such a great job. At that session, while they were recording the cello, I actually, let's see if I go up here and double click. I can call up an EXS24 really quick. And I believe I still have in here the cello beta. These were things that I recorded during the session. And then I process this with reverb there because I have my MegaMagic presets all ready to call up anytime I need to put onto something just to check it out. And so that was like that sample. And that didn't work out so well, but this G4 sample is really cool. And this sample I actually include inside of the library. So I was testing while the session was happening. I've done that at most of the recording sessions that I do. You need to be able to check and see, especially when you get into more complex maps and more complex instruments where you want to make sure things match up from one sample to another. It gets even more critical. But I have done this a lot, so a lot of the times I would just hear in my listening back and go, okay, that's the take. That's going to work. And so we would go from testing there to Drew sent me a file from Nuendo, and there's the 4 microphones. And hey, where's the bow tie? It's here. It's over there, but I'm not putting it on right now. But this is a session. So this is what it looks like when you have all the takes set up. Let's like choose something like this and built-in LFO pitch modulation by key tracking from what you're playing.
Okay. So low C again with vibrato.
So we could solo. That's one microphone. Here's a different microphone in a different position. Then the stereo pair sound like this. So each one's nice, but it's when you put all 4 together that it just becomes this like this monster sound. So it was a combination of more than just 2 microphones. It required an engineer that's done lots of recordings of these types of instruments that knew what it takes to get the body, and so he nailed it. It's such a beautiful tone.
Low C with vibrato.
Right? Isn't it just beautiful? So from this, I would go through and I got my mix set. This isn't the final mix that I used, and it's not the final treatment that I used for this mix, but I created a stereo mix of this entire performance. We could go here.
The long stretch.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
A little more energy, longer on the bow.
Gotcha.
I'm giving
And let it
instruction.
ring. Okay. Gotcha.
About half that.
Yeah.
And it's out.
Got it.
It's almost like a guitar pluck.
Got it.
And you hear the noise. There's a little bit of background noise, right? If we were to isolate just like right... Well, it's hard because my microphone's on here. Let me turn off my mic. It's very little noise. But I ran a profile. I found a place of silence and I made a noise profile for RX and I denoised everything. And then we chopped it so that each one of these samples is an independent sample. And I have somewhere a folder with every one of those samples. Then the next part of the process is to build an initial map. Let's see if I go over here. I think I can do it. Do I have? Let me see. This is the final map. But I would load a map like this, for example, right? Like let's say pizzicato, right? I go, oh, that sample. Is there a better sample than that to work with, right? And so then I would go into, there's an option in the EXS24 that says load audio sample. So I would be able to navigate. Let me see if I can find these from the cello work. Is it here? To this folder, to the pizzicato. And by using this, I can, it's messed up as far as to the mapping and the note assignments. I could put samples in like I think that's the G2 sample. So we look down here for where let's do it by name order. So we have G1, G2 is right here. So somewhere in here, if I choose this and then reassign this pitch to be G2, and I went through every sample and built the map to where I had the right takes that... Now you can hear how soft this is, right? If we open this in the sample editor, you'll see it hasn't been finalized in the audio prep that I do to the samples. If you compare this to a sample, let's say one of these. Here's a final sample. Notice how much fuller the waveform is and so forth. I didn't fully normalize. I did do some sample increasing to the actual samples. I don't like to normalize to 100% usually, especially if it's down to like this decibel range. It's down in the 40 dB of headroom, so it's not a huge audio file. If you normalize it up to 100, you're going to bring up the noise floor and everything else, and the characteristics change. And there are arguments from different camps. A lot of my workstation compatriot programmers and so forth like to normalize everything because velocity gives you 127 increments. And if you have it at full bandwidth and then you turn on velocity sensitivity, it will put this back into its proper perspective in the dynamic range when you're playing soft because it's a soft sample. So, but I found my mix that I wanted, the combination of elements that I wanted. Let's see, don't save. To get it to where I had as close as I could. There's tuning. There's still some tuning issues in the library. You're dealing with cello. There's no frets. So it's very easy for pitch to waver just even a synth or two, which it does from time to time on some of the samples. But that work went into the building of the library and the maps. And so that was going great. I had the maps, and then I started to make in Omnisphere the patches. And we're going to have fun here in a minute. So I created the basic core patches. I also looped everything so that... So I had looped versions as well as the non-looped versions. Right? Crescendo we could not loop. The down-up vibratos. That's without the loop, and then here's with the loop, and you'll hear there's a little energy transference. I didn't want it to make it a seamless loop. I could have easily made it a seamless loop like you couldn't really tell, but I wanted to keep that up and down. That's the real change. Here's the loop. So I had a bit of energy into it but I can't recreate the bow sound, right? But all that motion from the bow turns out to really have saved my butt for the library, because that really gives it this magical life element to it that if the library would have been just, there's nothing wrong with these. These are nice. That's nice. But you compare that, the down ups and the motion slows. That's where it gets really fun for me. Shows how to do the perfect, I don't use Sample Robot. Sorry, Sample Robot is, I need to get my volume down. What happened there? There's supposed to be there. I use a program called KeyMap Pro. It's one of the reasons that this computer is frozen with the operating system that it is, which is actually an older operating system. I have really good news. Right after Thanksgiving, I'm going to order my computer that can run the latest operating systems. So that will be up here. This computer will go downstairs to my auxiliary room for email, customer technical support email, and for looping and all that kind of stuff I can do down there. But I need a computer up here that's a little bit more powerful. Like right now, my stream health is yellow. It's not green. And if I tried to do stuff like I wanted to get more into music composition, I need to get more into production, I need more power. So I'm getting a 12-core computer to help me out in that front. Keep getting clicks. Doing an electric guitar loop. Guitar loops are hard. What you need is crossfade. Let's see, how can I show you this? Well, here, as an example, I hope you don't mind. We're going to just kind of loosely hang. I'm going to show you in a minute. One of the things we're going to do is I've got submitted, as you can see from these two names, I've got submitted and final. I've got 10 patches that are inside of the Omnisphere library that sound how they sound submitted, and then sound how they sound when they're finalized with the final things I wanted to do to them, so you can hear the differences, and we'll talk about them, okay? Got any thoughts on how your customers might best do some Omnisphere patch sharing? Well, there's the sharing options inside of Omnisphere. We'll talk about that in a minute, but let's look at this. So let's call up something like the vibrato looped, right? And if I hit edit, there's a crossfade parameter right here. And I actually had to turn it on for this sample. Let's say that it was bad. Oh, my crossfade's here. Hear the click? So crossfade is your friend. Crossfade, what crossfade means is that it starts playing a little bit of the beginning before the loop, before the end of the loop. So it crossfades it. So you can hear even a little bit of crossfade can save you. There's different types of crossfade. There's different basic algorithms. Don't save. That you can use. But trying to loop something, I'll tell you one of the hardest. Absinthe has a sample looping ability. And I use that in my power pack for Absinthe. And it is a nightmare because there is no crossfade in it. And it takes forever to go through the tools. Let's see here what it looks like. I can't even remember. If you go to the patch, and if you set this to be sample, on this mod page, there's a loop. And you can say play loop with edit, and you have a loop start and loop in. And there's no crossfade. And it took literally over hours and hours to get the right loop points for a lot of the patches that are inside the power pack, because it can't read crossfades. It's more old school than Omnisphere in its sample mapping abilities. So crossfade is your friend for loops. Sharing, there's an option when you have a folder over here, right? If you go into the directory for the patch, I think even in the patch directory, I haven't done this a lot myself, but there's a share button right here. And what you do is you choose the folder that you want to share and then hit share. Shift click on patches, sources, or multis to share them. After marking them, you can share marked items or add them to a project. So there's a whole, I've never used this process. I'm building libraries and just exporting libraries, but the share button is how you share specific things, so that they end up in a folder in Omnisphere called sharing, which leads into where we're going next, because so here's this submitted. So I need to change this to the sharing folder to all. And the first thing we're going to look at is right here, the final. It's BPM base, let's go BSB. So the idea for this is we're going to go BPM base, let's go. So this is what was sent. Let me make sure I got all my notes up here. This is the original patch that was sent to me. Oh, I need to clear my multi, initialize the multi. And let's go BPM base, let's go. You can play the spiccato on Omnisphere. Oh, yes. Here, okay, we'll start this in a minute. Let me show you the spiccato real quick. I'm loosely calling it spiccato. I am not a classically trained technical person as far as the performances of the violins. These are shorter than the marcato. So, again, it's a single sample. So round robin, all the cool things you can do with a full cello library are kind of difficult. We did do some really cool things when you get to the more complex, the MM Symphonia that I created. This one right here, where is it? It should be, I thought I had one that had the art, but I guess I don't. But oh, we might have to do one more bonus because I had a really cool thing with the arpeggiator on it. I must have lost it somehow. But there's some sample offsets, and these work better. So these things work better than the solo violin by itself for that type of an example. Yeah, we got to do one more update. There's some more Tim Dale patches I want to include. So I'm sorry I keep messing up on stuff like that. This was a very large project for my poor little brain to handle, with so many patches from so many customers and all this other stuff that I welcomed into this library. So for those of you just watching that don't know this, what the cool thing was, yeah, Jason was able to do this arpeggiated thing to one of the multis. And what's fun is each patch with the arpeggiator plays on its own. I even showed this in a live stream, so I'm shocked why it's not there. That's really strange. But we'll figure out what's going on and probably make a couple other additional variations to it. But here, let's do this. So before this library came out, I opened it up to my customers. I created a little file with 12 samples, 12 basic patches, and sold it for $2 on my website, just to help make people be like at least serious enough to buy the library, be registered with my site, to have access to these samples. And I got, as you can see, 275 patches, just an amazing amount of patches from around the world from customers. And so I went through these and picked out 100 that are inside of the final full version. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the submitted patch that someone submitted, and then I'm going to show you the final version so you can see between the two the things. Yeah, it was epic. It's so epic, this arpeggiated thing. We'll get to that. So this way you can hear, this is a, okay. Here's how it ended up in the library. I took it down an octave. I worked on the filtering so it speaks differently. It's not bright all the time. Hear how this is bright? I wanted more dynamic, so and I also opened it up on the art page if you compare between the two. This was set to 14 steps. And so when you have a 4 on the floor groove going, which I have right here, but it's muted, you have to be able to have a timing reference every now and then. So it loses the downbeat of the groove. So for the final, so, and the filtering, just bringing it down a little bit. If we submit late patches within the next week or so, would that help for a future bonus update? Hey Greg, welcome. It wouldn't hurt. You know, I'm thinking for the 12 days of Christmas of doing some fun things. So if we wanted to do like a bonus, we should do like a day of bonuses and have like bonus folders for the different libraries that people do things for. Yeah, so we'll do a little easy does it, Giorgio. What's Giorgio saying? I didn't see that. Anyway, so this is one of the patches, so you can hear the difference. It's filtered, it's an octave down the ARP. I believe I did some mod wheel assignments that are different. So that's one example. Let's go to another example. I have a lot of these to do, so this could take a little while. But it's really fun. I was really, because when I'm in edit mode, I'm kind of like just this hurricane of editing going on. Let's look at text, Pitsy, Mo, Slow, text, Pitsy, let's see, how is it text, Pizzy, Pizzy, Mo, Slow, 1. This. So this was what was submitted. And I heard the potential, but the kind of the robotic kind of, that thing kind of bothered me, and I was like, I think I did keep that the delay that goes forever. This is now called Underwater Agent. I gave it a different name because that's not quite the right name the way it is, and it's now I filtered that watery sound, that weird thing he had that's kind of like part of the sound. It became an element. All right, so that's where that went to. This next one is really cool. I knew what a lot of these that were submitted were by people that are still new to programming, and there's a lot to learn and a lot to know. And so this I really liked where he started and where he was headed, but it needed a little bit more pushing. So this is Air Defense System from BPM Base, which is BPM Base Air Defense System. And let's follow it up here. BPM Base Air Defense System. So here's where we started. This is what Henrik sent to me. For one thing, it's soft. See the level? I want everything right up here, just tickling close to the max dynamics. So first of all, it was soft. So you would have to go through and look at why it's soft. His volumes here are down. Bring these up in relation. And then he has this pulsing. It's done, I think, mainly on the B LFO2, right? But it wasn't enough. It's not pronounced. If you have a drum groove, you don't really hear just the volume going up and down as being enough. So I worked really hard to get a lot of things going and make it stick out. So when you're it was getting there, but it needed more things. So what I did, it's also going to an EQ. This is one of my favorite tricks with Omnisphere. You can't do this trick with a lot of other synthesizers, but the effects can be modulated by anything. And so EQ, this 5K is making a lot of change to the noise bandwidth of the sound. And so I just right-clicked and assigned it to the same LFO2 that was also being used for the volume. And that gave it a lot more stuff to go on. Yes. Well, David, you know, you go through your patches if you want to clean them. It'd be really fun. David Coffin, he's in the chat. Check this out. Let's see, if we go to the submitted, to this folder, to David, check this out. David released a ton of patches, and like if I was doing a film, some really cool experimental out there. You know, just fun stuff, but my rule for patches is you kind of got to sit down and have an idea how to use it, and it can't be too specialized for most cases if you're trying to just make it a condensed, concentrated library for lots of people to use. And so a lot of these were out there a little bit too far. Some of these, there's a DPC comparison coming up. I did the one for the Underwater Agent. Was there another one? Not on the list. But here's one. Let's do this one. One that a lot of people love, I love this, is the Himalayan, I ended up calling it the Himalayan Dreaming Guitar Pad. And so it's called Pad Himalayas plus Guitar over here. Right, where's, oh wait, we gotta go to all. And back to here, and Pad, E, F, G, H, Himalayan plus Guitar. And then the final is Guitar Himalayan Dreaming. So, let me check chat real quick. I have a... It's funny what you guys are talking about. All right, so here is the original. And here's where it ended up. So if I play, you'll notice, first of all, it's out in a different key. It's also really loud and really mid-rangey. So I had to go through and I actually released it without realizing, and then the first patch update that I released yesterday fixed this problem, so it's now in the... The other thing, this sound right here, the pad is playing right away, whereas I enveloped it so that it's not hitting right away. That way the guitar gets to shine first, and then this comes in to support it. When they both played at once, so if we took down the A, let's see. And then the effects were not quite right, so I went through and did a lot of work on the effects, EQ, a couple other things to get it to where... And then what really made this nice is when we bumped it up into a multi, because here it's able to have the proper samples up and down the keyboard. So when we play the guitar multi version of this, it's calling up 6 different patches across the keyboard. So I got this. Started as, but I heard where it could go, and so I didn't have another Guitar Plus pad, and I thought that would be a really cool idea. So taking, we eventually ended up and you know, see what the so yeah, there's always in chat nice talks going on that sometimes are outside of what I am doing. So here's another one that came out really nice. This is called let's do this. Go submitted. This is Grand Tetons plus delay drums, as it is called in the submitted folder. So if we go pad dash cell pad, everybody had their own naming system. Here we go, Grand Tetons, and this ended up in the final being called Pad BPM Rhythmic Call of Duty. Oh, so this we need to go initialize the multi. Get back to patches. BPM pad, right? BPM pad. Rhythmic Call of Duty. So here is the original that was submitted. And here's the original, here's the final. I changed the delay. I worked on getting a brighter sound for the... And the main reason I changed the delay is that when you're playing, this becomes kind of diffused. And you lose track of tempo. So if you have a groove, and if you do that with the other one, it's just, it's a great idea. I like the, it's the right idea, but it's really hard to have that work in a musical context easily. The Omnisphere VIP library is a library that they released to customers that own Trillion and Omnisphere. And if Omnisphere recognizes that you have both, it installs this bonus library of patches and multis that have bass and keyboard splits and stuff like that to a certain point. So people are asking questions, I'm answering as we go along. So that was a really fun comparison. Let's look at another one. This is one that ended up being called Mississippi Ferraro. So if we go BPM pad, Marco and Marcato and Moog, BPM, right? BPM pad, Marcato and Moog. So that was the original, and then the final is a... I wanted to get more rhythmic. So I took and I used on Mod Envelope 4, I called up one of the Del Norte Pulse presets that only comes with the Del Norte library, and there's 20 different pulse shapes, so you can and these really make a difference redistributing the energy in your mix in different ways. So because this is this feel, I would need to go change my hi-hats to be a shuffle kind of thing. Alright, let's see another comparison. Here is a BPM pluck cell trance spiccato. So the submitted was pluck cell, pluck, cell dash trans spiccato, right, th, pluck dash. Wait, am I here? And pluck cell, not pad cell, but pluck cell. Here we go, trans spiccato, and this became the BPM pluck trans spiccato. It's right here. So the original that was sent to me was I think that's an Airwave 2 ARP pattern. Okay, and immediately gone. Here's where the final ended up. I wanted more cello rosin in it. Original, just kind of blatty. You need things to be better defined. So if you have a groove going, always program with the groove available. And it's just a personal taste thing. I mean, this is cool for its thing too. And the mod wheel got it to be nice and thick. So I made it a more defined sound. Again, this is subjective stuff. There's not like only one way to do it. Pad Angelic was submitted. Pad Angelic. There's a couple Angelics actually. Angelic became Angels in High Places. Pad. So we go down the list. Angels in High Places. So the original. It starts right away. Here's the final. So when you play chords, versus there's no shape or if you look at the envelopes, it's immediately on. In the final version, the envelopes are nice and slow and give you a. Now they're not like this. If the envelopes are like this, it would be hard to play. You'd have, if you went like this, you'd have to speed this up. I almost never use the inverted exponential types of curves. I need it to be a little bit like this. I want it to get into this mid energy point fast so that you can play and change chords. But it's not so fast that it's this. Okay? So that's a big difference. I love the conversations you guys have because they're helping each other out. There's actually something happening with a whole bunch of the European people that have done live streams every Saturday. They have their own thing going on that is really exciting, that they're asking me to contribute and be a part of. And so we're looking at how that's going to work out. It's really exciting. Let me call up this. We got a couple more. Hope you guys are enjoying this. BC Man BS Bass. The submitted BC Man. Where is what was it called? Oh, it's guitar. Get to guitar GTR. Bassman bass. And the final, I think it was the lead. It's Messy Distorto box. Lead. What happened? lead messy distorter box right here. So the original. And I played with this a little bit, and I ended up going in direction of making it more of a lead. The guitar. It was interesting, but this is a cello library, so I wanted to find something with a more of a melodic. It's got some of the distorted, but again, subjective. I kind of wanted it more in this direction for this because I'm looking at things that the library has and is missing, and this is one thing I thought it could use that it was missing. So here is one more example. Strings, all of our yesterdays. So we go submitted, str dash all of our yesterdays, strings, all of our yesterdays, and the final is strings, all of our yesterdays, p s strings, all of our yesterdays. So the original that was submitted. And then the final. Shortened it. Here how it's immediately on with a long release. It just doesn't play the same way when you're touching. So again, personal things like that. Plugin Guru Khan. I like that. Boy, maybe we can do meetings at other events that are happening. I definitely plan in the coming years to get out and see other, the Knob 18, Messe in Frankfurt would be fun. There's all sorts of things that I think should be where we can at least meet, have a beer, celebrate the joy of sounds, stuff like that. That'd be very fun. So that's 10 examples of patches that were submitted. It's like, here's this piece of clay, and to be honest, a lot of people, I was really impressed with how well defined the patches were. I can say some honorable mentions. Bernie did some great work with his patches. Some were a little out there, so they didn't make it. But others did. Clark Parker sent a lot of patches, and these were a lot of care into the shaping of the envelopes. I talked to him, I asked him, like, wow, because it really impressed me when with his patches. I mean, this is how they were submitted. And he's like, I've watched your videos, I've studied very closely what you do, what other people do with their tutorials, showing the details, because I don't hold anything back. So if you watch, you just keep making patches and editing, you will learn more. But these guys have done great work. Ian did some great work. So many people did great work. I mean, it was really a joy to open it up and have so many people contribute patches to the library. It was very fun. Very fun. So that was about what I wanted to cover. I was just going to play through the library some, share some of the cool things that I thought were in the library. I want to give a shout out that since he's here, Jason, Rocky Mountain Sounds. Jason did some really cool, these electric cellos are really awesome. His pizzicato orchestra is great. That attack has a very D50 quality to it. Kind of a thing. Simplicity is a beautiful pad. And remember, throughout the whole library to play the mod wheel, everything has something assigned to the mod wheel. That's really nice. But it was really nice. The JS patches from Jason were great. We talked about this. Let's do it, Jason. So he's gonna that's a sugar plum, and then I'm gonna go to this one. This will kill my computer, I guarantee you right now. But let's see if we can do it. I'm gonna call up my pluck, which is the Kingly Pizzicato, which is just big, and let's combine them, see what happens. So that's two different multis together. Pretty cool. CPU will die. Actually, it did pretty well. My CPU's at max. But it's two different. If we look at this, let's watch. See how badly we're hitting this. Yeah, so there you go. That one uses inner space. Yeah, that will definitely hit the CPU cycles pretty heavily. Oh, good times. So let's see what else is here to play with. This is one of the patches from one of the customers. Big Lush Strings was originally by... Oh, not here. We'd have to look at the patch level. So we went to MegaMagic Cello, Big Lush Strings. Oh, this is a Clark patch. And then call it the multi. Yeah, this is killing my computer. Let's see why. 10 effects per patch. So that's it. One thing that I've been doing for a lot of this library, I would do tricks like this. So here is 7 patches for this to work. On the effects page, I have just a little bit of reverb. You could bring this up and then go to each one of these and turn off the proverb on the common. See how it's on? Turn it off. That saves 7 reverbs from having to be used. If you can like downsize it from 7 to just using 1, so we can. And there's probably other effects in here we could go through and say, maybe we don't need the tape slammer. Or if we do, what you can do is copy this effect, turn it off. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Go to the multi, put the reverb after it, because that was the order it was there, and then say paste. So I have one tape slammer now that all the 7 patches are having to go through, but it's not 7 different tape slammers. Still sounds about the same. And so you could keep going through this and see what else. There's EQ, which is only doing a very mild bump. It's not doing much. So we could probably turn that off and be safe. We could even... But one nice thing with this, I will point out, because I did this a lot too, is because you have EQ on each patch, you could go through this and you could... Maybe I want this one to be a little brighter. And maybe there's something in the sample. I can get rid of that a little bit. So it's microscopic how you could shape each zone. Maybe I want this sample here to have more low end. And this to have like monster low sub. And sometimes for like super low, this EQ doesn't work, but use like the 3-band. Go like 75. So I can pick out different EQ that has different strengths to work in different sections of this map because it's divided into 7 patches. It's really cool. You can even take this and say, oh, I want this to be, instead of the motion slow, C3, have this be the motion slow C3 with the reverb. There's all sorts of things. We didn't get a lot into this, but each zone can have its own samples from this list of all these samples available. So you could do all sorts of different variations on that theme if you wanted to. Muddy comes with the low end so high. Yeah, I didn't low pass filter. Well, the other thing that's really cool is on the patch level, you can go over here, turn on the high pass filter. This is an old school trick, but you set the EQ. So it's just sort of getting to the low end, and then you crank the low end. And it's a cleaner low end because you're high pass filtering out all the mud from way down low, and then just boosting up the low end there. So there's all sorts of things you can do if you have to. Any other questions? Yeah, this collection is a must-buy. There is nothing like this for Omnisphere, and it really does enhance the orchestral capabilities so much. This is really fun. This is my Pitsy Bartok attempt. It's not really Bartok. You don't have the really high... But we didn't get that at the session, so. Still came out nice. Do I avoid aftertouch? I tend to. Aftertouch is one of those things that so many people play wrong. And people that play hard, they automatically have aftertouch happening. There's people that don't play hard enough that never know that there's aftertouch. It's one of those things that it's not one of, it's a form of expressivity for some things, but I'd rather use the mod wheel or something that's a little bit easier to control. The Rolly is interesting because that's all about aftertouch and independent fingers doing independent things. So it's kind of like when you're in the mindset to have it work like that, it's great. I'm not a big fan of aftertouch just on everything. And a lot of this keyboard that I'm using right now doesn't have an aftertouch sensor. It's an inexpensive Korg keyboard. But it works for auditioning the sounds and playing and checking velocity the way it works. Okay, so I have one last little bit of good news. This morning at 10 o'clock, I met with a lovely woman named Mary, had coffee. She's actually a neighbor that lives in the same neighborhood that I do, and she is an unbelievable violin and viola player. And in early December, we are recording violin and viola. So plans are already in the works for the MegaMagic. I'm going to put viola and violin together as a library because violin by itself up the keyboard, it's great for up high, but as it goes down the keyboard, it would lose it. The viola will hold it up. So violin and viola, I think December 7th, 8th are the dates of my recording sessions. So I am happy to announce that is in the works. Single or married? She's married. She's lovely. Her husband's a piano technician, so we had a nice discussion on piano technician tuning and stuff like that. So yeah, violin, viola will be coming, and then we can do a VIP library between the cello and the violin and the viola. It will be really fun to make quartet kind of things. For a real violin player that plays all over the place as performances, a session where you're sitting and doing what Kevin did is so different, and it's such a different planet. But they really are interested in it because it gives these people that play your instruments a chance to see another side of how these instruments work. I have a couple other takes about the samples being married. No, we're not talking about that. I think he was asking of her status. So here, let me show you. I have a couple other videos I can play from the session. I think one is in there now, so here's two. Yes, do that. And let's resize this to fit the screen. And I'm going to put this over here so I can select this and say play. Oh.
It's okay?
Yeah.
Okay. G, open G with vibrato. Open G with vibrato.
So he would do multiple takes. But as you can see, it's not about... It's not... When you're doing a sampling session, you are not recording music. You're recording the notes from the instrument. And then the music comes later when you play it on the keyboard, right? So it's very different for these musicians to approach their instruments in such a way that that they are going to use it this way and record in this way. But she's seen these. I've warned her about, but she's looking forward to it. She's actually bringing two different violins. She has two. We've talked about bows. I was like, I'd love to have like ears on a violinist's conversation. The things that you guys would talk about, I'm sure, is so like nerdy. Like we talk about plugins and which one has what types of synthesis and oscillators and all that. So
G3, vibrato.
Athena getting attention.
G3, vibrato.
And that's I think that's Logic Pro. Just yeah, and I wasn't recording at the time, but it was up ready to record if I wanted it to. Yes.
You want that high C?
C4.
C.
So he could play up to
High
C4.
C.
So that's how we have the high samples.
C4.
Look at how high up the bro he has to play. I mean, it's amazing that he could do that. But the end result of doing that is a sound that I haven't heard in a lot of other sample libraries where getting up to that high on cello is not your normal range that they play. But it made for just some lovely... This is viola violin range. But it was nice to have that for the... Especially when you go into adding the reverb. One trick, make sure you realize there's 14 seconds of reverb. So while I have these programmed, if you hold down notes, the suckers ring for a long time. So if I'm playing this short, here's how it works. If I'm playing it short, it's respecting these envelope shapes and the release, right? But when I hold down, there's no decay out, so the idea is new sounds, new things to do with sounds and performance that aren't. There's all sorts of different things like that. When you're playing with any of the MM samples or the MMP samples, while they're programmed to be nice and... If you play and hold it, they play and speak differently than when you play short notes. So be aware of that. It's one of the kind of the cool tricks we have here. Was he using a tuner to make sure his pitch was dead on? No. He was playing it in tune to himself so that I could shift the tuning in final voicing if I needed to offset, but his tuning was good. And I had a keyboard that we would check with and play with to make sure the tuning was really, really close. But tuning is not that much of an issue at the recording stage. You want it to be steady in pitch is the critical thing. You don't want to go... that's where a professional player is really important. What are the differences between MegaMagic Bells Winds, Omni, and the Contact version? It's one of the few I don't own that are looking to add. The main difference is there's the core library. Let's do this. We can. I think that I have it here. These are multis. There's multis that were really fun. All sorts of fun things in here that are not available in the Contact library. Unfortunately, the Contact versions are kind of second-class citizens in that they don't have all of the samples and all the effects and all the fun things to play with. So while the interface is there and the core library is there for sure, all the core library is there. There's some bonus patches, and they do different things that it's not a slouchy library. It's not like, I guess I shouldn't say second-class citizens because there is good stuff in here. The glitch, again, is... there is no comparative that I know of in Omnisphere to do the things you can do with where you, get weird chords. I opened the door to see if the princess was still there. She's there! You know, that type of stuff. They all have the same core samples as far as to the flutes, the pan flutes, synthetic bells, these they both have the bonus Taglioni samples, the alto flute. Things are just incredible. Steve Taglioni. A lot of these sounds in this part of the library are from film scores that he's performed on. He made sounds that were used in those films, and he's given those sounds to me to be part of this library. I was very honored that he would do that. It's very nice of him. Like, stuff like this is just amazing because you just hold down a note and it goes forever. There's this flute and water phone. This just goes on forever too. That's where the loop is. So these types of things are the same inside of the two, but the programming tools and stuff that are available are different. So if you go here to the bonus patches in Omnisphere for Bells and Winds, Bells and Winds, to the Z patches. Jason worked on these. Anything that says Polar is going to be a Jason Chauffeur patch. Those darn Canadians love their Polar. So there's BPM stuff all over the place. Very different personality. I would say get both. The pads are great. Right, so this, you know, if I had to choose between the two, I'd be glad that there's a big sale going on between the two. Yeah, you knew I was going to say that. That's why we like the Thanksgiving week sales, right? It's the one time a year where it's the biggest sale of the year, so it's a big chance to take advantage of nice savings. Let's see here. Where did I put the Bells and Winds? Oh, I think, yeah. So the Wind TV, this is where you find all the Steve Taglioni. They come before you get to the Z patches, which are the signature, just bonus patches that we all created. Crazy sounds, man. glad I don't have to pick a favorite library. Alright, I got 10 minutes. What is this? This is Nightshade. Nice description of it. Yes. I had fun with the description on this one. You quickly shove the mod wheel back down, but the evil distorted delay will keep echoing and echoing. It keeps going. Echoing and echoing. It's still there. Echoing and echoing and echoing and echoing and echoing until finally you fall asleep, clutching your blanket closely knotted up by your chest. Yes. That's my attempt at literature writing while make synth patches. Vapor Laser Bot. I hear one of my signature pitchy G's. Love my pitchy G's. Mod 4, turn the P button on, you get the right shape, get the right depth. Here's without it. Yes, MegaMagic guitars is also a great addition to the cellos. We could do something like that really quickly that would be really pretty and make everybody ooh and ah. We would, if we were to go to guitars, let's do this as a multi. I don't have it. Oh, shame on me. Well, if I initialize this. If I initialize, I've got some patches, even the patches for guitars, which I do have. Part 2, I would say. So we could. Now I need to go in and I'll show you. There's one place where I clammed for sure really badly, right? So just take a look at right there. If I wanted, I almost could make that like a, let's do this. Let's see if that works. No. So let's just get rid of that note and have this start like that. A little earlier. I'm doing this without tempo. Right there. Just a little late. There. see how cello sounds with this. Yes, MIDI pencil. We could do anywhere from the solo kind of stuff, like a... Or we could go over here to something like the motion. Let's use it. Symphonic Butterflies. You know, so yeah, they work very nicely together. That's the MegaMagic Guitars Part 2. This is the new jazz chorus, which is lovely because you hold it down, and there's this lovely wash of. But we could try a different sound with this. So there's all sorts of places you can go, but yeah, they work really well together. You could even something like this might be funny. Not funny, but nice. If there's more of a tempo, you could add things like that to it. There's so many places to go. Here's with piano. Anyway, you get the idea. Lots of fun. Good times to be had. Well, this was fun. Oh. Yeah, so the people are asking about the Gibson thing. Yeah, Gibson dropped Cakewalk today. They made the announcement that they're not supporting. So they were the ones that originally bought Opcode, but that had the sequencer called Vision that a lot of people loved. It was very different, very unique, and they stopped support. People lost their jobs. They've done that to a number of companies, and I am not a fan of Gibson and their management processes. It's very embarrassing. We keep losing really cool tools, and they had plugins for the Mac coming out and out, I believe. And Cakewalk will not get any more support. It's unfortunate. Bad news to hear the day before Thanksgiving, right? Well, I have so much to be thankful for. I'm glad for all of you that are here hanging out. It's been a nice little extra evening. Yeah, Gibson, the guitar company, yes. Oh, yeah? Yeah, there's chat going on about that. Thank you for watching and for hanging out and watching, and I hope this was enjoyable and informative to some of you, all of you, I don't know. But Thanksgiving, be thankful, happy holidays. I think we might do a live stream on Saturday. We'll see. I might not. My mom and dad are in town, so I might not. It's one reason why I wanted to do one today. With the release of the new library, it's made sense to get out here and share news and stuff like that. So, thank you so much for watching. Be well. Take care. Oh, no. Yeah, take a day off for family. Yes, enjoy family wherever you are. I plan to do the same thing. Okay. Peace to everyone. Shout out. Where's everybody at? Shout from Portland, Oregon. Greets to everybody. Shout out from PDX. Stumptown. Shout out from Stumptown. Hey, Stanley, Florida. Ottawa, Canada, Salt Lake City. Yeah, rainy Portland, Biggie. No kidding, right? South Florida. Fontana. Yeah, a lot of our European brothers are asleep right now. That's the one casualty with doing a live stream at this time of night, is everybody in Europe is asleep. Calgary, Canada, like I need to say. Yeah, we know where you are, Jason. Woodstock, Georgia. Oh, yes. Yes. Thank you, David. That's very nice of you. And thanks for all of you that were watching that contributed to the library. It's so cool to do something and have you guys all involved. It's really fun. Very unique. We'll do it again. I promise. All right? All right. Take care, guys. See you later.